and YouTube. So, thank you for joining me on this short talk on a really important topic of global suicide rates. I think it's so important to have this discussion. Today's talk is really it's an overview really of current. This is from a very different perspective of other ways I think that we've been looking at global suicide levels around 29%, I think, from recently from Gallup. People are depressed in America or have been someone. This is quite a hard data metric to follow, I think. So hopefully this opens up more questions and we get the right answers. And I'll give you my analysis. I'll talk for about 15 minutes on this and I'll present some data and I'll give you my analysis. So I'll try and keep it nice and short. And thank you for joining me. So I'll get stuck into it. This is a little bit complicated, I think. When I launched my campaign yesterday, literally, now thank you for everybody that's joining this new global effort to lower suicide rates and connection requests. But I won't analyse the data in front of you. It's a little bit, I find it a little bit not confusing, but hard. It's an hard one to conceptualise because a high income and a low income country, can we pivot point the relationship there between the suicides? In one way, I think you can, but then are we leaning on human emotions? Because we all have stress, we all have anxiety, and even though the current trajectory is many years and now it's at its worst, sadly, I think there's a true relationship, which I'll explain in a moment, between crime, mental health, and suicide. Okay, when you look at high and low income countries, you could argue that the education systems that we have across different countries where they don't have what some countries have, that could also be a catalyst to driving some of the levels, sadly, and creating, the mindset of people where people choose to end their life from a burden on others, and they don't reach out to help because they don't feel either loved or they don't feel those are the three areas. And I've done a promotion video that's I'm promoting it slowly, so you can. I'll put a link to that in the box, but I think I've shown it yesterday on my platform. So thank you for those that have watched that. So I'm going to move on because I want to look at another set of data that I think is a little bit more alarming, because it brings. So I do think there is a relationship between crime, mental health, and suicide. I know recently that I think it's the Met Police. I can't remember that they're moving away from call outs to people that are because they haven't got enough resources. And I would argue we're never going to have enough resources because the current trajectory of poor mental health in America and other countries is very high. And from my research, it's based upon emotional intelligence that's not embedded into our schools from our younger years. We didn't get taught how to manage our mental health at school, basically. So, and I think that's now planned down heavily on the current trajectory of data trends like depression, which it does lead on to people sadly choosing to end their own life. So I am now going to show you an app model, and I hope you can see this. Bear with me a second. Okay, so here is it's it's not an actual live feed. What it is, but it's getting updated. So this is not my app at all, but this is quite interesting. This represents crimes reported in my local town where I live, and this is interesting. So this shows, for instance, here you've got um, the reported crime in the area. Now, when I looked at this first and I cross-referenced it over to London, I see quite an increase in crime in seaside towns. Now, two biggest concerns I have are an increase in sexual-related crime and violence. Okay, and I would argue that what's the reason for that? And it's my research based upon poor mental health because people are frustrated or angry and they take out in their relationships more often than not because they don't know how to escape from that and they don't know how to manage their emotions, and that falls back onto education. I mean, this is quite an interesting. I'd encourage those. It's crimerate.co.uk. If you can see it, I hope you can. It's quite an interesting um, way to kind of predict using predictive analytics. I mean, you could build an AI model on this, but we know one thing, and currently the crime rates are going up and globally. Some some are going down in some parts of the world in terms of burglary, which goes up and down, but there is a core relationship, I believe, between mental health and suicide. So, and it all comes back to education. So, how do we? I mean, we can't effectively press a button and lower crime rates and provide good education for everybody to understand how to manage their emotions because stress and anxiety is real. It's always going to be there. We don't live in a perfect world, that's for sure. So, how do we? And I don't really, it's not the best word, but it's one that springs to mind. How do we combat so many people choosing to end their life? And it's a hard one. So, my analysis and my conclusion is that we need to provide education at scale. How does that work on a global footprint? Well, the campaign that I started yesterday is a small part of that. So I'm developing, I would call marketing capabilities. So producing videos that don't go viral instantly, but over time they will get distributed out to global places and they provide an educational footprint for people to come onto learning courses and learn more about their emotions, their emotional intelligence, their self awareness, using core skills like empathy and action. Because we've all got hearts and minds, we're all stuff, and it's the empathy in all the jobs that we do, especially those that work in the suicide prevention industry. Is now an industry, sadly, on a good footprint because we're trying to help save lives and prevention is better, okay, but we've got to go back to education, I think, and look at um, notions of emotional intelligence, which will help a lot of people. So I'll try and conclude off if I can. This is very difficult kind of talk, really, because not because of the conversation, because it's data and emotions and my analysis, and there's lots of people who've got different opinions on this, but to make more of a collaborative effort, and that's why I've reached out to um, all the people that I have. There's 38,000 on LinkedIn people that work in suicide prevention industry. I will be contacting all of them. Okay, I need as many people on this project as possible so that we can all work together and try to come up with an innovation framework that allows for the rest of time to think about how we go deeper into providing for ourselves and our children's children to it's quite natural, as one of my GPs said, to think about wanting to end your life, but we get somebody wants to make plans of it. So, and anxiety without go into much on the mental health side, which will be, I've done loads of talks on this. It's being more self-aware and waking up every single day and being thankful. But when someone's at their end and they've been hurt or they're in that state of mind, you can't put that teaching inside that. So that's why it's important, I think, that we start early in education in schools. Um, as I said, the relationship is between crime, mental health, and suicide. There is a core relationship there. I do believe in that. And it's very difficult, but we need to make more of a collaborative effort. And I think that what I'm trying to say and do is we need to build a global education system. And I wouldn't say an awareness campaign because it's deeply rooted into our society, that in our brains through history, that the last call is choosing to end our life. And as a born again Christian, I don't, it really to me, and I got inspired to talk. I've been doing more around suicide prevention. I'll be scaling more on this project. So it's a difficult one, but we have some of the best minds in the world on this planet, and it's an obligation and a duty and something that you're passionate about. A friend, a family, those of you sadly that have, someone it's so sad when someone gives up. In my circle, when I'm praying for those that have lost someone, that they're managing their mental health, because it affects more the people after they go. And there's been documentaries on TV, etc. But we need to do more, because it's in our society, it's in our brains, it's there in history, that when the last call comes, that's what we choose. We choose to end our life, and the levels are going up too much. So it sounds a bit cheesy, but I'll close and say it's time to act. It's time to innovate and be creative around this, because a suicide promotional video that I designed, inspiring video, is one thing, and that will make us a difference. But if we all work together to put a digital footprint into schools, these workplaces, that's deeply rooted into our education systems, I think maintenance of lowering global suicide rates, the data that's coming through is hard to correlate, but there's other people leading better this one than me, because this is not my specialist area. Okay, although I'm very good at emotion, this is a very big topic, and I think it's suicidology. I think, but there are leading professors on this, and I'll be tapping into their knowledge on this. The reason why people root it back and pipeline in through innovation. Okay, so I've spoken enough, and I think I wanted to get this out there to you, and to encourage anybody who wants to work with me on this project. You haven't got to do anything particular at the moment. Just follow me. Keep an eye on the updates. If you want to get more involved on the video production side, please direct message me. I'll be promoting this one video and scaling up so that it can get viewed by people across the world, and then I'll analyze the comments so that we put that into a research pool as well. So all hands on deck, as it were. So all welcome to come on board if you work in the suicide prevention industry, or you just want to get involved, and please just follow me and stay tuned for more updates. Have a great day, folks. Have a great week. And don't forget to check in on yourself. Your mental health is important. And I'll see you soon on one of my next live talks. Thank you so much, guys. See you later.